Here's one of the most important arcs in this chapter. The presidency the framers designed is not the presidency we have today. Power has grown dramatically. Let me trace how we got from the traditional presidency to the modern one. The framers designed the office with limited enumerated powers, ringed by institutional checks, and the traditional presidency of the 19th century largely conformed to that design. Presidents saw their role primarily as executing the laws Congress passed, not initiating a sweeping legislative agenda, and the scope of federal activity was narrow enough that administration was manageable. Even Abraham Lincoln's aggressive emergency powers during the Civil War, suspending habeas corpus, blockading southern ports, came with his own explicit acknowledgement that his actions were constitutionally questionable, and he invited Congress to ratify them. So what transformed the office? The 20th century's crises and the expansion of government that followed. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal response to the Great Depression created a federal government that employed millions and administered sweeping regulatory and social insurance programs, Social Security, unemployment insurance, banking regulation, that Americans came to expect as permanent. The sheer administrative complexity made it impossible for Congress to micromanage, so it began delegating broad policymaking authority to executive agencies. And then America's emergence as a global superpower after World War II concentrated foreign policy and military authority in the executive, where speed, secrecy, and unified command gave the president decisive advantages over the slow public Congress. Now here's the key conceptual point. The formal powers in Article 2 didn't change, but the informal powers expanded enormously. Consider the power to persuade, the president's ability to use the prestige of the office to shape public opinion. This grew with mass media. FDR's fireside chats let him speak directly into millions of homes. Television amplified it further, and social media added yet another dimension. Trump's use of Twitter to bypass traditional media and set the national agenda was a novel, consequential form of going public. Finally, learn this distinction. Delegated powers are explicitly granted by the Constitution. Inherent powers are not enumerated but implied by the duty to faithfully execute the laws and protect the nation, the basis for much expanded activity in national security, immigration, and emergency management. The line between them has been contested throughout history, and the courts have generally been reluctant to firmly limit presidential claims of inherent authority and national security.